All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Ask the King. Piece of hair there. This is part 3 of Ask the King for October 26, 2017. So if you missed any portion of the first two parts, definitely check them out on YouTube. For the stream viewers, welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, I am aware that there was an OBS noise error before I started recording. I noticed there was an error. I fixed it, so don't worry about that. For the stream watchers, it is still recording for YouTube. No worries. Okay. Let's continue on. Killchan asks the following question. Phil, what makes a fighting game bad compared to a good one? I get the general idea of what you can expect from a fighting game compared to how some of your matches turned out during your coverage of Dragon Ball FighterZ and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but since I'm a total noob in fighting games, I'm assuming it's not just a matter of dumbed-down mechanics designed to cater to a less hardcore audience. I'd like to hear your extensive thoughts on the subject. Listen, the truth of the matter is, it's not even an extensive subject. Fighting games at their core, have to have some kind of a competitive feature that, or gameplay mechanic that requires skill. All right. So let me give you an example. Street Fighter 2, or let's say Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the final version of the game, requires a lot of skill. Why? Because there's nothing really in the game that's easy to abuse or spammable per se to get easy victories, unless you're talking about the overpowered and tournament banned character Akuma, who literally could just jump and throw an air fireball and he locks down the entirety of the cast. All right, every character in the game has a variety of different styles of attack style. Some are more ranged, throwing projectiles. Some are more movement-based, like the speed of Vega. Some are grappling-based, like Zangief. And all of them play differently, all right? Of course, there are some similarities with zoning characters and the like. Ryu and Ken have a lot of similarities because they're almost the same sprite. But every character also is pretty unique. Now, an element of a fighting game is difficulty level to learn the game and to learn it at a high level, all right? For example, Street Fighter 2 takes a long time because, first of all, there's a good... originally, there were only 8. Then they added 4 more, so there were 12 characters. And then with the final version, there were 16. So a wide variety of 16 characters, all of which almost play differently, makes already there's a learning curve. You've got to learn the abilities of every single character in the game, okay? Now, in addition to just the sheer amount of things you need to learn in order to get good at a fighting game, there's also an element, like I said, of skill involved with risk-reward. So what I mean by that is to play the game, you have to learn what is worth doing and what's not. What is an easy way to win, what's a way to win with that maybe a little bit more not as guaranteed, right? And ultimately, there's going to be tiers in the game. What we found over the years of fighting games is that top tiers typically is a combination of maybe a character who has a really overpowered move that does tons of damage, and therefore they're up there, but then there's a character up there that really is tough to play. They don't do a lot of damage, but if you play perfectly reactionary gameplay and tricks and patterns, you can actually lock down the opponents, and that might be a top tier character in the game, all right? All this comes into a factor when you're judging if a game is good or not. But ultimately for me, the defining moment of if a fighting game is good or not is if in the meta game, the large scale of the game, all right, is there variety in gameplay, and is it difficult to be a good player at that game? Because if the game is easy to play and everyone can learn the top level stuff within a day, and everyone's doing the same abusable stuff within a day, and that's the entirety of the game, you failed because you've made a game that's overly simple for simpletons, and a competition doesn't mean anything. It just means who did the abusable thing better or timed better. It's not about actually learning fundamentals of fighting games or learning, a way to properly play a game and have a top tier strategy or anything like that. And that's the problem with a game like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. You look at a game like Super Turbo, right? Every time you watch the game, it's different because every character plays differently. You know what I mean? There's wide variety, everything. Then you watch a match of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It doesn't matter who you're watching play. The entire match is always the same. 2 characters floating around trying to get one random hit in with a mix-up, either high or low or a cross-up. As soon as that hit hits, here comes a ginormous combo that takes almost their whole life bar, if not their whole life bar. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's the whole game. There's no variety to the game. The entire game is easy mode bullshit. Super Turbo, you got people who are going to be, trying to zone you with fireballs. You're going to have reactionary uppercuts. Like I said, you're going to have good footsies and mid-range moves. You're going to have grapplers. You're going to have fast movers. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean about, these games are not at the level that they used to be. How is it that the game from 1993, or whenever Super Turbo was actually released, at a tournament level is actually a better game than a game in 2017? 20 fucking 5 years, 30 years later, they can't make a game on that level. It's a laughing stock. So there you go. That's the sad fact, is that fighting games have become so dumbed down so that everyone can play them at a competitive level, that the competitive level is shit. It's like preschool fighter for dummies. It's what it is. It's fighting game for dummies. I don't know anything about footsies. I don't know anything about spacing. I don't even know anything about strategy. All I know is I got to hit you once with a mix-up that's either going to hit high-low so you don't know how to block, or a random crossover that you don't know how to block, and then immediately I'm just going to do an insane combo for ridiculous damage, and that's the whole game. That's stupid. That's not even a fighting game. That's a completely different genre of game. And that's what they've turned fighting games into, is this washed up, easy mode bullshit for scrubs, which are another word for newbies, people who aren't good. And that's sad. And that's really what they all are now. And, I challenge you to find a game of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite that isn't what I just described. That's the whole game. There's nothing else to it. That's literally the whole goal of the game. And, if you ask a Super Turbo player, what's your goal in this match, they're gonna say, well, it depends highly on who I'm fighting, what character I'm facing, the spacing and everything. You ask the guy in Marvel Capcom Infinite, I'm just gonna get a hit and do a giant combo. Okay. There you go. So there you go. Yeah, what makes a good game? A good game has to be based around complex gameplay, variety of gameplay, a game that actually, if you want to be good at it, you have to put in time, effort, and not just learn everything within 2 days because the game is so fucking simple, And you might say, well, we need simple fighters. Okay, fine. Make simple fighters. MvC Infinite can be your simple fighter. But then don't release Street Fighter V and also make it simple. And then release the next fighting game and also make it simple. That's the problem, is that these games are now all simple. Every game Capcom makes is simple. And that's not what we want. We want fun games with complex mechanics, layers of diversity, layers of variety that we can learn over time to make a game have longevity. Not you've seen everything the second day the fucking game's out because there's nothing in it. And that's the problem with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. All right. Next question is from Dean Jones. Actually, hold on a second. Golden Colts just did a 100-bit cheer. Thank you to Golden Colts. And YOLO Dopper did a 10-bit cheer. So thank you, both of you. Okay, now let's continue. Next question from Dean Jones. He asks, Phil, do you think with the experience that you've gained over the years playing and reviewing many types of video games that you would be qualified enough to get into gaming journalism? I know in the past you've stated you wouldn't want to work for a mainstream gaming news outlet due to the massive amount of he says incredibility. I think he meant to say incredulity, which I believe is the word that means that basically they're not credible. That they basically aren't professional about what they do and you can't really believe what they say. If you were offered a job or started your own website where you were free to review your own games as you saw fit, do you think your experience through competitive gaming and YouTube would suffice over time and money, and you would have spent on getting a degree? Thanks for answering. So basically what Dean is asking, do I think I could do gaming journalism for myself? Could I run my own website where I review games and everything? And the answer is yes. I could. I've played so many games in the past, 10 years now. I've been immersed so much in gaming culture for 10 straight years. I've probably played more video games than the vast majority of gaming journalists. I'm probably better at video games than the vast majority of gaming journalists. Now, here's the thing. Not many people have played as many games as I have. And that's okay. They don't do it for a job. So how would you be able to play as many games as I have, right? And I understand that, but I do think that because of the amount of exposure I've had to gaming, that I would have a unique perspective on gaming that a lot of other people don't have. So I'll give you an example how the difference between being a journalist and being a gamer can lead to being a better gaming journalist, all right? Journalists go to school for journalism. They learn how to write. They learn how to present stories. They learn how to do investigative reporting. They learn all this stuff about how to do their jobs, and then they apply it to any field. I'll repeat that. They apply it to any field. There are journalists who are into world news, just politics, pop culture, video games, movies, all that kind of stuff. There are journalists for every single kind of thing on the planet that could be deemed newsworthy. The problem here, all right, is that the journalists aren't necessarily versed in what they're going into as a journalist. So you could be a journalist who goes to school, gets the degree for journalism, and now you're going to become, you get hired as a gaming journalist for IGN, but you don't know shit one facts about games. So you go to play a game to review it, and you're an idiot, and you can't even play it, so now you look like a moron. And it's like, well, that's the thing. When you're a journalist, it's not just the degree that makes you a good journalist. It's also having experience in whatever field you're going into. And that's the problem we're seeing with gaming journalism, is a lot of these gaming journalists aren't actually versed in gaming. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm not going to name his name, but the guy, everyone knows him now, the infamous guy who works for, I even forget the website it was. He's well known. He was one of the head guys of this gaming journalism department. For years, he's been in charge. He basically is kind of the guy who checks everyone else's work. He did an amazing, everyone still references this guy, the groundbreaking article that he wrote during the Xbox 360 era, when all the 360s were red ringing. He did this investigative journalism report in order to find out what was going on, and he broke the story, and everyone still references him as the guy who found out the deal behind the red ring fiasco with the Xbox 360. So he does great journalism work, okay? Then recently he was over at Gamescom, which is the European big event. Like, it's like the European E3, basically, okay? He's over there, and this was before Cuphead released, and it's on the floor for people to play. He goes to play the tutorial. He can't even beat the tutorial because he's so dumb he can't even read the on-screen instructions to figure out how to play the game. Then apparently he tried to play the first few stages and he failed miserably. He couldn't even beat like the first 2 opening stages of the game. And he recorded this as a, he thought, oh man, this video is like pretty much unusable. But I'll put it on the internet anyway just for giggles. Maybe people will get a laugh out of it. To his chagrin and his dismay, it didn't. What happened is he became the laughing stock of the internet. People saying, so let me get this straight. This guy is the head of a gaming journalism department of an online publication. This guy got paid to fly for free. He didn't pay for it. Paid by his work to go to Gamescom and get immersed in all these games. This is something that gamers worldwide would love. He gets in, and this is the fucking guy. He can't even do the tutorial of a fucking new game. And this is the head of a gaming journalism department. And of course, what it ended up, it blew up into a story about why are gaming journalists so bad at games? Are they really not good at their jobs because they're not good at the games that they're playing and reviewing, etc. Well, time to ban an idiot. By the way, please, mods, I see there are mods here. Please keep your eyes open for trolling. Someone just trolled and I banned them. All right. So yeah. And it became the big laughing story, or the big comedy story of like that week was that the head of a gaming journalism department sucks at video games. All right. Now, in reality, is the guy awful at every video game? Probably not. He probably has maybe a forte. Maybe over the years, there's a certain style of game that he likes. He even openly admits, I don't play this kind of side-scrolling action game. It's not my thing. I was just messing around with it, and I recorded it because I wanted to give some like first look footage for our publication, and it just so happens that I did terribly at it. So it's kind of like the perfect storm of shit in his lap because of what happened. But at the same time, I have to agree with a lot of the critics out there who are saying gaming journalism is a joke. Because if you look at, I'm going to call them out, IGN, I have to. Because I've seen this so many times from IGN, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Here's a game review. Okay? The game, in fact, you know what? I'm going to tie this question into another question coming up because it directly relates. In fact, here we go. I'm going to read this next question from forum user Barack Obama. Here's the question. Phil, why did IGN just give Super Mario Odyssey a perfect 10 out of 10 in their review? They explicitly said there's several complaints about the game, including both the cameras and the controls, and they included it in a list of things they listed as the bad things about the game right before the review score was shown. Isn't a 10 supposed to be flawless? So here we go. IGN makes a review. Super Mario Odyssey, 10 out of 10, which means you can't possibly score it higher. One of the best games of the year, yet they have a laundry list of problems for the game that they actually cite in the review, including camera and control issues. Okay? How is that responsible gaming journalism? And the answer, it's not. It's not. You can't be a responsible gaming journalist and just say 10, 10, 10. Oh, by the way, here's all the stuff that could be improved. But it's rated the best possible. You can't. That means you're an irresponsible gaming journalist. Now, here's the problem. That's not just one person, okay? That was the person who wrote the review, all right? was irresponsible. That review went through the hands of an editor. There's an editor at IGN, and their job is to read all the stuff that's submitted before it goes live in public. So that editor read it and said they listed all these flaws and they're giving it a perfect score, and they published it like that. So it's multiple people at a fucking gaming journalism publication that don't understand journalism. Because if you're going to rate something 10, it has to be perfect. And if there's a flaw, the game's not perfect. All right? Now, here's the thing. If there's an exception to a rule, if a publication has never given a 10 out of 10 score before, and they, for some reason, they love the game so much that they state explicitly in the review, despite its flaws, this game is the best game I've ever played, 10 out of 10. That's an exception to the rule I'll give a thumbs up to. But the problem with IGN and a lot of these gaming media outlets, they don't do that. All they literally do is plaster a fucking number on their review irresponsibly, without proper justification, without proper explanation. And then that score goes into the Metacritic score, and now all the scores get skewed, all right? So, because IGN is irresponsible, and they gave a game that's not perfect a perfect score, right? Now that game looks like it's better than it is, while maybe there's another gaming journalist who's responsible and gave the game an 8.75, because it's a great Mario game, but it has some flaws. You know what I mean? And this is the problem. There's no baseline for quality in gaming journalism. Okay. What would have stopped that guy who went to Gamescom and sucked at Cuphead to going home and saying, Cuphead sucks, man. That game's too tough. And it's ridiculous that the game's that hard. And you know what? He did. I'm not even kidding you. He went home and he wrote an article about the ludicrousness of how people blew up about him posting this video. And then in his article, he used it as an opportunity to propagate that games should be easier. You couldn't pass the tutorial. It wasn't that the game was hard. It's that you're an idiot. You literally don't have enough exposure to games to be in charge of a gaming department. I mean, you proved it. You don't even understand the basics of a certain major genre of games. How can you be in charge of a gaming department of journalism? And that's the problem. What it seems to me is that people in gaming journalism aren't necessarily the people massively exposed to games. They're just people who have a degree in journalism on their wall. So because I went to college for journalism, I can now cover video games. And I'm sorry, but the excuse of, oh, well, it's just a review, therefore it could say whatever it wants because it's just an opinion, doesn't fly when you're getting paid to do it. Because when you're getting paid to do it, and your review is going to show up on Metacritic, and it's going to be plastered and splattered all over the internet, you have an honorable responsibility to do due diligence and to put out something of quality. And when IGN is games 10 out of 10, when they have a laundry list of things that's wrong with the game, that just proves that they are laughable. They are not a source that you can trust for game reviews because they don't take it seriously. And that's the bottom line. It's not, your game review should not be 100% subjective. It shouldn't be, oh, well, I played Mario Odyssey and it had a lot of flaws, but I love the game. It's my favorite game of the year, 10 out of 10. Wrong. You made the review incorrectly. You needed to weigh and balance the positives and the negatives objectively before you interjected your subjective, oh, it's my favorite game of the year, in order to give it a proper review score. If you didn't do that, you did not make a responsible game review, and basically you shouldn't get paid. But that's the problem. These people get fucking getting paid. It's like, what the fuck? And no one holds them to task because for some reason, we still have, in 2017, this weird mentality that video games are for kids. Ladies and gentlemen, video games are the biggest entertainment industry on planet Earth, all right? They make more money than everything, okay? More adults play video games than children. It's proven. It's true. More adults buy and play video games than children. Therefore, no, games aren't for kids. No, you don't get to just say whatever the fuck you want when you're supposed to be writing a responsible game review. You have to be professional like everyone else. And this is what I hate about the mainstream gaming media. So, here's the deal. If I were to write a professional game review, if all I did was do gaming journalism, and I had a website for it, if I wrote a review, or I did a video review, would it be as good, as well-spoken, as shiny and spiffy as someone who works for a professional media outlet? No. because I don't have a degree in journalism. I don't have a degree in video editing. I don't have all this knowledge, which is what they went to school for, okay? But I could damn well tell you that I would be able to rate properly a game a lot more accurately than some of these people who they only play a certain amount of games a year. They only get exposed to a certain amount in every genre every year. Yeah, look at me playing Cuphead, where I did really good at the fucking game, despite the fact that there's other games that I may not be as good at. I could rate Cuphead a lot better than that guy from that fucking gaming media outlet. Definitely. So, yes, I do think that if I were to start it up, mine would probably be better than a lot of other people's. Of course, the thing is, in order for me to do that, it would mean that I have to stop playing as many games as I do, which would be counterproductive. See what I mean? I'm the guy who can give you the best reviews, but the only reason is because I'm constantly playing games, which means I don't have time to do high quality gaming journalism reviews. So it's kind of like a vicious circle. The only reason I'm more qualified is because I have the free time to play as many games as I do, but because I play as many games as I do, I don't have the free time to make the qualified review. There you go. All right. Shout out to Golden Colts, who did a 100-bit cheer. Shout out to Dooley, who gave me a $5 tip. Thank you, Dooley. And shout out to Concrete Casket, who just did a 100-bit cheer. All right, let's keep going. We're almost done with forum questions. In fact, we only have one forum question left, and then we can get to the Twitter questions, and we can wrap this up, okay? So, forum question from Ratchafan. Ratchafan says, it is no secret that you've seen good growth on Twitch with lots of people cheering, subbing, and tipping. If this keeps up for the foreseeable future, do you think you will get out of the hole that you're currently in financially? I can't even answer. And the reason I can't answer, let me tell you, first of all, it helps. The fact that people on Twitch have been so generous to me this year, just on this stream. Look at people are supporting and being awesome. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. But every time I open my mouth, every single time, right? And I say, oh, things are getting better. Some other bullshit happens. False copyright strike. YouTube ad revenue plummets. YouTube demonetizes videos, etc., etc., etc. And it just keeps happening. It's so, every time I get to the point, yes, things are good. It's like, oh, we gotta fuck with Phil's shit now. Here it comes. Get the stick and poke it, right? And then something goes wrong. And right now, I'll be honest with everyone. I'm in the middle right now of a situation, a personal situation. I know it's been a month now. I still haven't been able to talk to anyone about it. After a month, I don't even have any kind of an update, positive or negative. It sucks. I want to get information so I could share information about this thing going on behind the scenes with you guys, and I don't have anything right now, all right? But basically, I'm in a situation where there's a possibility that things could go really bad for me, to the point where it's so bad, I don't even think there's an out besides maybe selling this house and either moving into a smaller place here in Washington State or moving all the way back to Connecticut, which is awful. It would negatively affect the business by far, because having to sell the house and move would take tons of time away from me being able to do streaming. I wouldn't have my office anymore. It would be a big downgrade in quality. The internet on the East Coast is worse. The weather on the East Coast is worse. Everything's worse. It would be going 10 steps back from where I've gotten, okay? Really, seriously. And I don't have an update for you. And by God, I hope I do soon. But basically, I've been trying to get updates for a month, and it's still not possible. So, at this point, I don't even know what's going to happen. Let me tell you this. People ask me this all the time. Phil, how can we help? Because you can't even tell us what's going on. How can we help? The bottom line is this. The stuff you guys are doing is tremendous. By coming to the streams, participating in the ways that you have, watching the videos on YouTube, those things are all positive things. Being positive. I've noticed this year overwhelmingly, people are more positive about me now that I've had this change and I'm more interactive on streams, everything. More positivity is good versus a lot of the times it used to be negative, 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 and now I'm seeing way more positivity. Okay, that's a good thing. And all that being said, just stick at it. Keep being who you are and watching this stuff and being supportive. If you win the lotto and you want to help someone out, contact me and we'll talk. But no, I'm not serious about that. If someone wins the lotto, the last thing they're going to do is try to help me with my situation. I know. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I could answer your question, Ratchet Fan. And the thing is, things were looking positive and good this year. I was like, wow, things are on the up and up. If Twitch stays the way it is and, YouTube can stay at a constant level, then things will be better for me. And then something else happened behind the scenes that I can't tell you about. And that's what I mean. It's like thing after thing. It never ends. It seriously never ends. To the point where it's so frustrating. It just gets frustrating. Because I know you guys and gals support me, and I know you want to see me keep doing this. You don't want to see me lose my house. You don't want to see me have to move back to Connecticut. You don't want to have weeks and months where I can't even stream because of another fucking move. And then I get there, and then things are shitty with the weather. The internet's constantly fucking up. And I know you don't want that. I don't want that. But, life has not been kind to me recently. This year in particular was not a good year. Let's say it that way. Streaming-wise, been great. Everything with YouTube and everything, and streaming has been great. But other personal shit going on behind the scenes has not been very kind to me. So, we'll see what happens. Maybe if I get more information at some point, I'll let you guys know, and then we can move on from that. But from now, I really don't have an answer. Okay? Shout out to Concrete Casket, who subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Concrete Casket. One final question from the forums, and then just a few Twitter questions. The final question from the forums is from BWT56. He says, Phil, I'm 18 years old, and I'm going to be moving out on my own to start at Seth Rollins Wrestling School in about a year. Do you have any advice on living on your own for the first time? Yes, I do. A few things, actually. Number one, lists. Lists are your friend. When you move out, and you're on your own, there's going to be several lists of things you need to keep track of, right? Cleaning the house, stocking the fridge, paying the bills, okay? These are all things that you make a list and a schedule for, and it'll help you tremendously. I have systems in place that I instituted, that I started when I started, being an adult and having these adult responsibilities, living on myself, that I have. Like, for example, my shopping schedule for going grocery shopping and work and everything. I have a 7-day calendar on my wall in the kitchen that I write everything out a week in advance. So I know every day what the meal's going to be. I know if I'm shopping that day, if I'm working that day. And that helps tremendously because you might forget. You never know when you live by yourself, all of a sudden spur of the moment, shit, what was I doing today or whatever? If you didn't write it down or you didn't make a schedule, you're boned. Because no one's there to help you, to remind you, right? Number two, I would say, get a really good alarm clock, because you'll find it's different living alone than when you're living with other people where, you overslept. Your parents are going to go wake you up to get to work or school. Not anymore. You got to get a good alarm clock to wake your ass up. I have an alarm clock with 2 alarms. It goes off at one time, and if I don't wake up or if I hit it and fall back asleep, it goes off a second time 15 minutes later to protect myself from that, okay? I do that on purpose. Because if I don't do that, if I miss the first alarm, no one's going to wake me up and I won't be here for stream or whatever, right? Alarm clock, super important to get a good one, okay? And of course, number 3, if you're going to live alone, you got to have contact information about what people to contact in emergencies and stuff. So for example, right now I'm living alone here. I contacted my next door neighbor and I said, listen, now I'm alone. So FYI, if ever you don't hear from me for weeks at a time, call the police, and here's the phone number to my parents. And vice versa, I told my parents, if you don't hear from me for weeks at a time, call my neighbor to come next door and see if she can figure out if I'm alive. I know it sounds morbid, but it's important. It's important to have the kind of stuff, because you may not think about it. And then what are you going to do if one day all of a sudden you fall, you break your fucking legs, and you can't move, right? And now you're stuck on your kitchen floor, you can't move, and what are you going to do? Your phone's up on the countertop, you can't reach it because you fell and broke your legs. You're fucked and no one's going to come looking for you, right? So you got to have those kind of protections in place. All right. So before we get to the Twitter questions to end the show, I want to do some shout outs to those who were basically big patrons from the last 2 months, the months of August and September. People who basically pledged $10 or more to my Patreon. It's very appreciated that you guys did. Here you go. So thank you to the following people: Prince GK, Brightside Viking, Mr. and Mrs. Kelcher, Tom Dooley, V, Peanut Brother, Speedy7, Timic83, Villix, Abdurrahman Althani, Big Tone 995, Fred, Casey Wood, Thomas McDonald, Sean Given, Mike Hunt 2018, Last Rambo 341, Miss Monique, QPZMWN, Deep Drive, Faith in 13, Ralik, Daniel Bonk. Bonk. It's either Bonk or Bonky. I don't know if the E is silent. Kazi, Stormforce Gamer, Atlas Telemon, AV, Richie7, Brian Ripple, Show Kreos, Astrius, Logan Shannon, Juan, Endara, K, Rick Eggers, Connor Brown, Joe Wiltshire, Old Russian, Michael Denault, Planet Jeff, Christine Gebhardt, Erwin Hames, Hank Duma, Mayor I botched it. I was so close. There's 3 names left that I fucked up. Mayor Maracho, Zavon, Benjamin Harrison, and California Thunder Queer. Thank you all for your Patreon contributions. I am very appreciative. And hey, the Halloween Horror Marathon that's going to happen next week, in part, is a big part happening because of you guys. So thank you for that. And also, shout out to Concrete Casket, who just subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much for the sub, Concrete Casket. Okay. The final 3 questions, ladies and gents, all from Twitter. First, from Yak Almighty. He asks, what was the moment in life that you were hurt the most? Honestly, this will be a sad answer, but, it'll be an honest answer, all right? I'll be honest. I'll dish it out for you. There were 2 times in my life that I was hurt the most, all right? The first was when I was, I hate to say it, betrayed by my longtime, who I thought were my friends, John Rambo and Howard, who over the years, I did many, many things with. I hung out with them as well as made video content for YouTube with them, went to tournaments with them, traveled to conventions with them, and not once ever, I'm serious, during that period of time, except for one exception, where John Rambo actually had issue with one thing that I said, and we talked about it like men, and we hashed it out, and we agreed it was in the past. Not once did they ever say they had issue with me, that I did something wrong, that I was a bad friend. None of that. Then I move across the country, to Washington, and a year and a half later, after I move across the country, after trying to retain contact with them and not hearing in particular from John Rambo, who really was my closer friend. Howard was more of an acquaintance. He would join us for stuff every once in a while, but he wouldn't necessarily be like a main focal point of stuff that I was doing. It was John I hung out with a lot more. Every week, John would come over to make videos and stuff, and we'd shoot the shit. It was stuff behind the scenes of what we were doing for YouTube. That was, personal stuff that we would talk about. Okay. So a year and a half after I moved across the country, in particular, John Rambo, to make a video out of nowhere. The other thing was, it wasn't like he contacted me and said, Phil, I got a lot of shit, grievances against you, and I want to make a video about it. Nothing, not warning, makes a video with him and Howard basically just kind of blowing up, talking about all these things, negative things that I had done and how I'd been a bad friend to them over the years and stuff that they never addressed with me. Because here's the deal, folks. Honestly, I wouldn't have been hurt at one piece at all if that was stuff they had said to me first, so I was aware of it, and I was at least given an opportunity to fix what I was screwing up, or, to not be doing the things that were annoying them. But the fact that for years I had known these guys, all the stuff I had done with them, right? I mean, it's documented. How many thousands of videos with them did I make, right? That they had all this pent-up resentment hidden inside of them that they never stood up and said to my face and even addressed ever. And then, of course, the internet makes me a villain and says, oh, Phil's a horrible person. Here's the proof. Here's a video from his 2 closest friends who say he's a terrible person. But what you got to understand is I was never told that I was doing anything wrong. So if you're not told that something is hurting someone, or that someone has issue with you, or they wish that you would do something better, you can't change for the better. And that was the problem that I have with the whole situation, right? Is that I didn't know these things were going wrong. And if you don't know, you can't fix it. And so for me, when that video was released, was one of the most hurtful things that ever happened to me in my entire life, because these are guys who, at least I would say Howard, again, not so much I was always close with him, but John, I mean, for years, this is a guy who I had given life advice to. He had given me life advice. We'd helped each other out over the years with personal shit behind the scenes besides the YouTube videos. There were many things that we tried to help each other with over that time frame when we were friends. And There were times when, financially, if I could help John in any way, I helped him, and he would help me emotionally with shit and stuff. It was cool. It was like having a really close friend. That's what I thought he was. And then, again, no inkling whatsoever when I moved that there was anything wrong. And then for a video to just come out of nowhere and completely blindside me that here's all the things that I've done wrong, and this is why they don't talk to me. It's like, that was incredibly hurtful. That was probably one of the most hurtful things that could ever happen to me in my life, honestly. Because when you trust someone the way I trusted them, and for that to happen, and I'll be honest, since then, I don't have any real close friends on purpose. Because for me to accept someone in as a close friend and to share personal shit with someone that are going to do, I'm afraid I'm afraid that someone might do the same thing. Tell me that I'm a good friend and tell me everything's good and everything. And then all of a sudden, oh, here comes another laundry list of shit, right? Let's see. The other thing, honestly, and this is more personal, I'm not going to get into it, obviously, is my breakup from this year. I was with my ex-girlfriend for 5 years. 5 years is a lot of fucking time. Now, I didn't live with her all that time. We were going out long distance for 2 years, where every month she would come visit me for an extended weekend or whatever on the train. And then when there was opportunity for us to go on longer trips like vacations and stuff, we would do that together. And then finally, we were making a life together out here. We got to move out to Washington, and this whole house was a project of both of ours. And to see it fall apart the way that it did, really, it was incredibly hurtful. And that's probably something I'll never get over in a lot of ways, because that was 5 years of my life. 5 years of my life given to someone, really, when you think about it. And to have that fall apart. Now, there's all kinds of reasons for what happened, and I'm not going to tell you, because honestly, it's none of your business. I'm not trying to be insulting or being stingy or whatever, but it really is none of anyone's business what happened between me and her and why the relationship fell apart. And I'm not going to really share that, because it's just personal shit that you've seen what happened with the personal stuff that we shared over that 5-year period, how it was twisted against us and used to troll us and nasty stuff. I would never reveal the personal shit behind the scenes that happened, that led to us basically breaking up. But it's incredibly hurtful. It's incredibly, incredibly hurtful. And it sucks because I'm always going to have that emotional scar inside of me of some 5 years. The thing is, too, we documented a lot of the stuff we did together. Look at the videos over the years. Every holiday, we put up a Christmas tree together and recorded it. All the vacations we went on. Hell, DSP Tries It, a running series that started with me solo and then ended up having her added to it because we lived together, right? And now it's solo again. It's sad because you go back to watch DSP Tries It. Oh, look, she's in all of them, right? And it's like, damn, she was a big part of my life. And to have that gone is just incredibly hurtful. All right. So those are the two things. Definitely. Those are the two things. All right. From Get Two Birds. He asks, is there any place in the world that you'd like to visit or dreamed of going to? This is a recurring question. All right. A recurring question that happens over time. But let's answer it again. Yes, there are two places I would like to go. There's two places I would like to go in short term, and there's two places I would like to go long term. Short term, the two places I would like to go is I'd like to go on a California vacation again. I haven't been to California since I went to E3 in 2012, and that really wasn't a vacation. It was for work. I was there to cover E3. And I would like to go to Universal Studios. I'd like to go to Disney World and all that stuff. But here's the thing. Honestly, that's something you do really with a significant other to make it a lot more fun, right? I wouldn't go to Universal Studios myself. I wouldn't go to Disneyland myself. I would want to do that with, a significant other. But if I got to that point, yeah, that's where I would want to go. And number two, I've always wanted to see like Vancouver in Canada. Vancouver is, from what I've heard, a very beautiful city. Lots of fun stuff to see for tourism. And I would like to do that. And that's easy for me for where I live, because I to take a real quick flight up into Canada, and all I would need to do is get either a passport or a passport ID, which you could get. It takes a while, but when I get that, I could go in and out of Canada freely. I live right near it. The plane tickets would probably be incredibly cheap to go to Canada. So that's in the short term. Those are the two things I'd like to do. Long term, I would like to maybe one day go to Japan. okay? And maybe one day do like a tour of Europe, one of those tours where you go around and you see all the major sites of each country, you know, Great Britain, France, Italy, Germany, something like that, a tour of Europe. Those are probably the two major things that I would like to do. And you know what? I'm going to say something else, and I hope people don't spin it negatively. I have fans and viewers who actually live in the Middle East, and I've actually seen some of the things they've posted up about some beautiful places in the Middle East that look amazing. And it's funny because we here in America almost never would say we want to go to the Middle East for tourism because all we think is, oh, there's terrorism and horrible things over there in the Middle East. But, you know, I also see real beautiful stuff over there too. That might be something, you know, crazy long shot that I would ever do that. But I've seen some really nice places over there too. You know, someone just said Dubai is really nice. Yeah, I've seen, you know, just things posted on Twitter. You look like, whoa, wow, that's amazing. That would be a cool place to go and check out and, you know, do some tourism kind of stuff. So, okay. The final question. Oh, actually, hold on. We've got a couple cheers. Thank you to Golden Colts, who did 200. Hold on, I screwed this up. Let's try this again. Sorrow's End did a 15-bit cheer and says that some say that I got into yaoi hentai after South Park. Amazing. Golden Colts did two 100-bit cheers. Thank you, Golden Colts. Dirk2 did a 200-bit cheer. And he says, I'll never forget the WWE fantasy matches with you and John. Yeah, see? I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, even though I still do WWE fantasy sims from time to time, they're not the same. The co-op commentary is what made that stuff. I agree. Swallow My Nut did a 10-bit cheer. He says, why don't you go to Vancouver? It's 2 hours from you. He says, why don't you just drive to Vancouver? It's 2 hours from you. Because long-distance driving is the worst possible thing for my back, and I don't want to re-injure it. That's why. And shout out to Wow I'm Awesome, who tipped me $1 and said, are you going to binge Stranger Things 2 on Netflix like every American? Binge it? No. I'll probably watch a few episodes a night, and then I'll finish it up, you know, over a course of a week or something. Okay. Now, to the final question. Hold on here. I clicked the wrong thing. What the hell did I just click on my laptop? I clicked on the Microsoft Store. What the fuck? I didn't mean to do that. Close that. I wanted to go back to stream chat. Here's the stream chat. Here it is. Okay. The final question is from Hero20. And he asks, are you planning on playing more of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? Ladies and gentlemen, if the CEO of Capcom, if Ono, Yoshitoro Ono, whatever the fuck his name is, walked into my office right now with a giant sack of money and said, Phil, if you play Marvel vs. Capcom again, I will give you this and it will solve all your financial troubles and it will, you know, put you basically in a situation where you're good for life and you won't ever have stress ever again. Yeah, if you play Marvel vs. Capcom again, I would turn to them, matter-of-factly, honestly, I would stare them right in the eye and I would say, give me that goddamn bag of money. Yes, I'll play that fucking game. But since that's not going to happen, no, I'm not planning on playing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite ever again. The game fucking sucks, just like MvC 3 did. The only sad fact is that MvC 3 at least had several months of development before the game became, oh, get one hit, lead to giant combo that ends the whole game. MvC Infinite was that since day one. So the game literally degraded from actual gameplay into crap within 2-3 days. Now everyone does it. The game's complete garbage, and I'll never play it again. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching Ask the King. I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope you enjoyed this this time. I should mention this before we adjourn. The next episode of Ask the King will be a special holiday episode. The first holiday Ask the King I've ever done. I always usually do Ask the King on Thanksgiving Day. Not this year. I'm doing it differently. On Thanksgiving Day this year, I'm going to probably be doing a Hate Live podcast. It's going to be the big Thanksgiving Hate Live where I'm going to tell you all the things I'm thankful for. But I will be doing a special Ask the King on the 21st of December. It's a special holiday edition. Everything will be festive. You'll see. So, that being said, please post up your questions on the forums. They're already on the kingofhate.com forums. There's a thread for it. In addition, if you want to be guaranteed to have your question answered, pledge to my Patreon. Check it out. You'll see there the perk level where you get the guaranteed questions answered. And it may be a perfect opportunity if you have a Christmas-themed questions. Here, ask them. That'll be a great episode, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching Ask the King. By the way, shout out to Vera who did a final 10-bit cheer here. I appreciate all of your support during the stream. thank you very much. I will see you in 2 months for the holiday edition of Ask the King, and I'll see you in a month for the very special Hate Live Thanksgiving edition. Sound good? For Ask the King, I'm Darkside Phil signing off. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Whether you're watching live on stream or on YouTube, I appreciate the viewership, and I will see you next time. Peace out.